The interesting thing about Asia, and I'd love to discuss this with you, is I think in the short term, the impact is very big because obviously people closed the offices down, people had to work from home, buildings had very strict measures. The short term impact was very similar to everywhere else. But in many major Asian cities like Hong Kong, Tokyo, Seoul, Shanghai, Beijing, these cities in the long term actually have a more unclear trend going ahead because in many companies, let's say in North America, you see in the news a lot now that they're going to have everybody allowed to work from home forever, even after the pandemic. I have a feeling that in Asia, that's actually going to be a lot slower to take place. And there are a few reasons for this. Number one, very, very dense cities, excellent public transportation and transportation networks. Commute times tend to be much shorter, and people live in really, really tiny shoebox apartments, meaning they either can't work from home or they don't want to work from home for a long time. And the distance from the office isn't that long anyway. Some of my friends in New York, they say, oh, we have small apartments too. Like, we have to deal with the same issues. No, you have not been to Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong, people in New York will say, oh, I live in like a studio and it's 200 something feet. This is very small, right? In Hong Kong, people live multi-generations in one home. It's very common for people to live with their parents, with their entire family until they get married. So yes, the apartment's bigger, but 4 or 5 people are living in it, and they're very tiny and cramped. Especially if there's kids around, it's very hard to get work done. People spend so much time in retail and mall and entertainment centers and like public property in Hong Kong because they want to get away from their family. They want to get out of the house. They don't want to spend time there. And there are also cultural factors as well. A big part of remote working and flexible working is giving trust to your employees. And many of the more traditional Asian companies, and this is a big generalization, of course, but I think many of them have issues with trusting their employees that much. Many of them are still locked down in this idea of, we don't know if you're working if we can't see you in the office. So you have to come to the office. You also have to come to the office perhaps to show face to your boss who's also in the office. If he's in the office or she's in the office, you also have to be there. So the long-term effect is, I think, less clear, but I think when big office leases start to expire, these big office tenants are going to show their true colors, right? When they have to put their money where their mouths are, they're going to have to start thinking, okay, yes, we have these cultural norms in our company, and we have this issue of small apartments, but do we really want to pay so much for rent? Can we downsize effectively? And right now, for our company, we're thinking about this too, and we're working our way through a few different conversations about flexible working arrangements.
Right. That's fascinating because I've heard, being based part-time out here in Europe, there's a similar perspective where the closer you get to, Russia, Ukraine, the more east you go, the more the issues are there with, I wouldn't say the trust, but people are more comfortable with you just coming into the office versus more Western Europe. There's more, people are more comfortable giving employees that flexibility. So it's definitely a cultural thing and a country by country thing. And Steve, I know Nasdaq, of course, is a global company. So are you seeing something similar with your offices worldwide?
So as I sort of evaluate, where we are today, as we start to open up offices around the world, we're doing it in a phased approach. So it really all depends on metrics, on local regulation, and sort of what phase we're opening up various offices. So actually, it is more Europe where we opened up first with a couple of the East Asian offices. And I think Sydney was probably the one that shouted the loudest about actually opening up first. But what we've found is we've opened the offices, but very little people are going in. And that's what when I speak to other folks or other people in my position or local brokers in various cities around the world, that's sort of what we're seeing or what they're seeing as well is organizations are open offices, employees are typically not going in. I don't know for what reason, whether it's the safety, whether it's the transport, whether it's just actually they're quite enjoying the experience of working from home. I think it's a bit of both, a bit of everything, to be honest. And as we think about the US, the change that's happened over the last 4 to 6 weeks through protests, through increase in COVID through the southern states, it's also shifted the mental state of how employees are going to interact with the office. So it's going to be fascinating to see how things go. And Aakash, I know you're probably aware of what happened in the UK this weekend. I think I think we have to ask ourselves maybe a different question of how the workplace is going to be used in the future. Where the UK opened the pubs on Saturday morning, 6 a.m. There's lines around the corner down the street for people to access pubs at 6 a.m. in the morning, and when they had to go into the pub, they had to provide their names, their driving license, their contact information. Also, they go and spend time with their friends. I don't think it's just because they're craving alcohol. I think it's more the social interaction that they want. And I wonder if the same folks, if they had to go into the office, if they have to go with the same endeavor and same spirit and the same openness and willingness to share information with their employers, or is there lessons that those organizations, we look at that behavior and we go, okay, what drove those decisions? Why did people actually want to go and interact with each other in this open environment? Is it social interaction? So then how do we use workplace to provide those social interactions that entice employees to come back to the office as we sort of look and evaluate what the workplace of the future looks like?